and so on. We shall ensure that we provide coverage to each and every person. But going forward, one, let the women rights organization encourage women to speak. Let even other organizations encourage capacity building workshops for women, especially we are going to have a new parliament, the 12th parliament. Let organizations, WOPA and other organizations can also support WOPA to organize capacity building workshops for these women, and to not to have that inferiority complex of fearing.
Yes, Sandra, you are now a host. You can make other people co-hosts. Thank you.
So we shall provide them coverage. Sorry, but I request that you allow me to end there, unless there's a question within 1 or 2 minutes. Then you can allow me to move because my team is prepared to move.
Thank you, Mr. Uganda. Does anybody have a question in 1 or 2 minutes before he jumps off the call?
Yes, I have one question, Mr. Uganda. I'm just curious if there is or are some how can I call them, like programs or engagements that are geared towards helping especially the women members of parliament be actively engaged online. I think sometime back I heard about how the all members of parliament were given the iPads, and I'm wondering, other than using them to read the policy or to be in all committees, if there's specific engagements geared towards helping them to be active online. Thank you.
Let me respond to that. One, it's good you have raised it. All MPs are given free iPads, and of course they're given even airtime, free airtime. So one way is to encourage them, and that's what I've ended with, because I said the women legislators need to be trained on social media use and the importance of social media, because that's the challenge that we have right now. That the majority of them are failing to use social media. I don't know whether they don't know that now social media is very crucial. I don't know. But what we need to do, I've already advised that what WOPA can do is to encourage, to organize capacity building workshops, even to bring experts in social media management, to train these women members of parliament, and to also understand that social media is one of the platforms that we can use. Today, we are seeing the president is using X as an official communication. Whenever he tweets, he's communicating to Pazuku, is using his X handle. So it's also important to encourage them to do what? To embrace the new digital era, because it's the way to go. You allow me to wait. My colleagues are leaving now, but I would have loved to be part of the discussion until the end. I promise next time I will sacrifice that time.
Mr. Uganda, Sandra here.
Yes,
and I wanted to just request if we could see your face, so that when we meet the president of Uganda Parliamentary Press Association on the road, we can put the
you can't see my face.
Yes,
It's
so
okay.
Okay, thank you for that.
I think now you can see me.
Yes.
So we are on the move.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Back to you, Judy.
Mr. Uganda, thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us, and we wish you a safe journey. And it is our prayer that as the capacity building meetings go on for the women parliamentarians, for the people who are able, like themselves, they are able to speak with confidence in public, they are able to mobilize communities. We sure do hope that they can embrace the various digital tools and platforms that are available all over to make their work more easy. But thank you so much. We thank you for that representation. And at this point, I would like to welcome some members who joined us a bit late. I see Miriam, Moni Photography. I see Patrick Chibirango. You're most welcome. And I'm going to request you to, for purposes of roll call, to just introduce yourself briefly in the chat. Like you can just type a few sentences of your names, what you do, the organization, and what your expectations from today's meeting are. Thank you for joining. You just found us when we are getting on to what would have been the first segment of the discussion. I would like to welcome Ms. Bazanya Sandra Hither from the Uganda Women's Parliamentary Association to share with us opening reflections on women's political participation and representation. You're most welcome, Sandra. Just open your mic and your video so we can know who you are, and then you can take us through. You're most welcome, Sandra Hither.
Thank you so much, Julie. Once again, it's me, Bazanya Sandra Hither. Because of the environment where I might not open my video. Sorry, apologies for that. I work with Uganda Women Parliamentary Association. I'll give a brief on the organization that I work with. WOPA is a parliamentary caucus that comprises of women members of parliament, but is also open to male MPs who come in as associate members. WOPA was established in the 5th Parliament, and that is in 1989, and aims to promote gender equality, women's empowerment, and representation in decision-making processes. WOPA therefore contributes to a Uganda where there's social justice, peace, and economic empowerment for all. I am humbled to share some opening remarks on women's participation and representation in Uganda. Currently, women make up approximately 51% of our population. And as it is, there's still low levels of representation and participation in the different spheres of life. Currently, we see that in the 11th Parliament, we have, as Ivanda talked about it earlier, we have 189 women MPs out of the 556 MPs. That makes it 34%. At cabinet level, women take up 45%, and also we have 48% women state ministers. Going down to the local government level, we have only 22% at that level. And when we look at the managerial positions, we have 35% of women taking up positions at managerial levels. I'd like to highlight some of the issues that have kept women away from taking part in actively participating in politics and decision making. We have the issue of socio-cultural norms and stereotypes that has continued to perpetuate gender equality at all levels. There's limited access to education and economic opportunities. As we can see right now, politics has been monetized. There's a lot of money involved, which leaves out most of the women because they can't afford the money to take part in the active elections. There's a lot of gender-based violence and harassment, which continues to be a barrier to equal participation for women. Some of the challenges, some of the solutions, and some of the things that WOP has done to ensure that women take part in politics and also be able to participate actively in decision-making positions. WOP has held mentorship programs for the first-time female members of parliament. We've tried to pair them with experienced leaders who give them guidance through the challenges of their political lives, who have been able to share with them information, share experiences. We've also offered them with training and capacity building. We've trained them in legislative processes. We've trained them in budget appropriation and scrutiny. We've trained them on how to present themselves, public speaking skills. With support from Uganda Women Media Association, we've also been able to encourage them to actively participate in media engagements and conversations. Much as it's hard to build their confidence immediately, we know that in the next parliament, we are going to see an increase in the number of women members of parliament who will come up to discuss on social media and also on other media platforms. We are trying to address the social cultural barriers through implementing awareness campaigns to challenge and encourage societal attitudes and stereotypes that have continued to hinder women's participation in elections. We've done male engagement through use of men and boys in promoting gender equality and encouraging them to support women's political aspirations. We as WOPA, we encourage a conducive environment through ensuring implementation of laws and policies that promote gender equality and protect women's rights. We have for example, the Domestic Violence Act. We have the National Gender Policy, the Prevention of Trafficking Persons Act. We recently passed the Succession Amendment Act, the Markets Act, and we are currently working on the Employment Amendment Bill, the Sexual Offences Bill, and the Marriage Bill, which I hope that some of you have come to interact with. Okay. We've also, we've also continued to strengthen affirmative action policies in Parliament through ensuring that the reserved seats for women in Parliament and local governments are reserved. At the beginning of this Parliament, we made an assessment of the board to ensure that women are at least represented at 30%. And we've continued to do the assessment to ensure that women benefit, and then they also take up the decision-making positions, not only leaving them to be secretaries, to be members, but also being on the real executive where they can sit on the table and make decisions. On increase, we've also worked on ensuring access to education and economic opportunities through encouraging government to invest in education and economic empowerment programs for women, which can enhance their participation. Because once a woman is economically empowered, they can pay their fees, they can also fund their elections, and also even they have the right academic qualifications, they can confidently apply for bigger positions. Since now we're encouraging them to go in for direct seats and not only rely on the affirmative action seats. We've continued to encourage economic empowerment initiatives. Women take part. There is PDM, there is Myoga, we've continued to use our MPs and the male MPs to advocate and encourage women so that they're economically empowered. We've also continued to sensitize our communities and build solidarity among women in politics through bringing together women from different political parties together so they continue to network, They bond, they discuss, share experiences, and also encourage each other to go on for other positions that will benefit them. As women have shown resilience and determination through driving change and promoting gender equality. And I believe that through art, feminism, and Wikipedia, we can amplify women's voices, challenge stereotypes, and create a more inclusive society. It's my call that we use this platform to share experiences, build networks, and empower each other to push for greater representation of women in all aspects of life. This is all I had to present today. I remain Sandra Hitha Bazanya from Uganda Women Parliamentary Association. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Sandra Hitha. Is there anyone with a question? Any questions? Any questions? Maybe suggestions to Sandra Hitha? Okay. Thank you, Sandra, for this. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I see Brenda's mic is open. Are you saying something? Because there seems to be no sound. Okay, thank you very much, Sandra Hitha. I think let us just go right to the next segment of this discussion. We have Juliet K presenting the power of art in feminism and advocacy and political storytelling in the segment about activism in Uganda. Welcome, Juliet. Please just open your mic and take us through.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, organizers, for this opportunity to speak this afternoon. I will turn on my video towards the end of the presentation, if that's okay. For purposes of the network, my connection is just so good. My name is Juliet, and K stands for Kushaba, Juliet Kushaba. I work with an art space called Activism. And at Activism, we do art for social justice, mainly with the women that are at the margins of our society. So in the way we work, we have different artists who are interested in using their artworks to contribute to the cause of social justice. And some of the artworks that the women in the space use are poetry, photography, paintings, short stories, and crafts. Personally, I do short stories, and once in a while, depending on how my creative juices are, I write poetry. It's a very beautiful genre, but also very sophisticated in its own right. But I'm very comfortable writing short stories for social justice. So in a way, the space that I work with, while it was being put together, it had this thought in mind that art, in many ways, has the ability to create change in subtle but also in profound ways, depending on the subject being handled, and also depending on the audiences being dealt with. So in many ways also, art has this very ability to speak to audiences, even when no one is speaking with it. So you create your artwork, you have your purpose, you have an intended audience in mind, but when art goes out there, it's able to speak to people that might not even understand the language of the creator. It's able to speak to people that might not be even as elite as the creator of that art piece. It's able to transfer itself beyond, spaces that are enclosed in terms of geographical boundaries, but also in terms of language boundaries, but also in terms of education. For example, if someone paints an experience of a woman's suffering, that painting, the canvas and brush and the colors that come with it, will speak to people from different linguistic contexts in ways that are similar because we are human. So art has a way of appealing to that humanistic quality within all of us, regardless of our race, regardless of our gender, regardless of our educational background, regardless of even where we come from. So in that way, the women artists that decide to do this work are really thinking of how best can this power of art be transformative? How best can we use this art to create the change that we want to see in our society? How can we compel political actors like women in parliament and all the other political actors to be able to see the suffering of those that we represent in our artworks, whether it's in poetry, whether it's in photography, whether it's in short stories, whether it's in crafts or any other forms of art. How do we create that first-hand information from the experiences of those that are living these experiences and share it through all these different genres of art and ensure that we touch parts of those that have the ability, that have the power, that have the influence to cause the change that is envisaged for our society. Because in many ways, art is used not just for its aesthetics, but also as a means to, confront social norms that are very derogatory, social norms that keep a certain section of the population on the margins, but also challenge some oppressive systems, challenge things that do not work, that do not take us forward. But also the other thing that we do with art as an institution, we know that art historically was mainly for men, and because of that, even when there were experiences of women that needed to be portrayed in artistic forms, the men took on that mantle and represented women's experiences, but from a men's perspective, from a men's distant perspective. And I'm choosing the word distant because there are some experiences of women that if you're not a woman, you're not able to, unpack them. Even if you're using the most easy language, even if you're using wood color on canvas, even if you're using whatever form of art, there are some experiences that must only and should only be shared from the perspective of those that own them. So for us as an institution, we also see art as a very political tool to be able to allow women share their own experiences from their own perspectives, and as such, challenge, like the previous speaker said, challenge most of the stereotypes that have been consistent in the art forms that were historically produced by men on behalf of the women. Also, we look at art as something that, in many ways, does not just consider the audience out there, but is also speaking to the artist. These days we speak a lot around questions of mental wellness, questions of healing, questions of healing justice. So for a society like ours, where we find so many challenges, people are broken, there's lots of problems, unemployment, there's lots of problems, violence, there's all these problems intertwined in people's lived realities. We also see art in many ways as a political tool to be able to articulate these issues, just to be able to deal with them as we create. So art in many ways is seen as therapy, and personal therapy, personal healing is a political means of articulating our issues, not to the outside, but to the inside. I think I like to keep time. I will pause there. If anyone has questions regarding what I've shared or anything that they would like me to speak to in relation to that, I'm happy to respond to some questions before I get off the call. Thank you. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you so much, Juliet. We really appreciate that sharing. And sorry, we appreciate the sharing and the impact that activism has on feminism, activism. Oh, okay, I'm trying to join so many vism sentences together, but we like that it enables us to speak, to break the silence. So thank you so much for that. In case anybody has a question or you have a sharing or anything you'd like to add on, just post it in the chat and then we shall take care of that later in the meeting. But I would like to straight away invite Sunshine to come and share with us the global perspectives on visibility and knowledge equity. Over to you, Sunshine. I see our time is fast spent, but we'll try to manage it as fast as possible. Please go right on, Sandra. I see your hand is up.
So Sunshine is not able to make it because she's on flight. She's on board. Is it airborne? Something like that. So I think the next person would be Brenda. Yeah.
Yes, Brenda. Thank you, Sandra, for that information. Over to you, Brenda. You're most welcome. Brenda, are you there? Just to let everybody know, Brenda is our ED at the Wikimedia Uganda user group, and she'll be taking us through what local efforts.
I'm here, Sandra. Sorry.
Okay. You're most welcome, Brenda. We couldn't hear you
Thank
for
you.
a minute.
Sorry, yeah, I am at school, a bit of a noisy place, so I was moving away from the children.
Okay.
Yes, so thank you so much, Sandra and team, for organizing this inaugural Art and Feminism activity. My name is Brenda Namlinda. I'm Executive Director for Wiki Uganda. I'm supposed to be talking about the Wiki Uganda efforts and the importance of ethical documentation when it comes to art and feminism. At Wiki Uganda, we are implementing art and feminism as a way of putting out the voice of the women in arts, and in that manner, we are doing, in our strategy, we have partnership as one of the ways that we want to ensure that we reach out to more women in the arts and creatives. And we want to strategically ensure that we put out the message from these women and make the work that they are doing known when it comes to art and feminism. And in that manner also, it is really important that we do ethical documentation so that the information that is out there that hasn't been put out there is seen, is received, and it is accessible and documented. But in terms of doing ethical documentation, we normally emphasize the fact that this information is verifiable. It should be accessible, and any of the women or the activities that we are documenting, someone should be able to access it. So that is why we emphasize ethical documentation, so that we are not just speaking things out of our mind, out of emotions, but we are able to verify this information. In another effort that we are doing at Wiki Uganda is, of course, through activities like these, ensuring that we have the photos taken, like we have the women photographers also embedded in the activities that we do, so that we are able to cover the gender gap. Because you know that in many of these activities like this, we tend to see more men participate. We tend to see that there is a lot of information that is not necessarily documented because of the gender bias. But when we have many women photographers, we are actually sure that we will have a lot of our content covered. So we are doing a lot of work to see that we cover the gender gap, and we are aiming to see that we enroll more female photographers in our programs through partnerships, but also through individual trainings. And we are also encouraging many women photographers to join us. And of course, for the men that we have, to mentor them, so that because originally we knew that photography is an act. It is a job for the men, but the woman can also be behind the camera, and they can help us capture that content and upload it and make it accessible to the people. Yeah, so those are some of the things that we are doing at Wiki Uganda, and our aim is basically to ensure that we cover the gender gap, but also we make the women's voices out there heard, and the impact that the women are making in our society, especially in the arts and creatives, is also accessible, is seen and talked about, so that we are not burying the talent that many of our women in the creatives have, but many people are able to learn from it. Thank you. Over to you, Sandra.
Thank you, Brenda. If anyone has a question for the ED, kindly post it in the group so that we can attend to them after the session. But right away, I would like to invite Sandra herself, Miss Acheng, to come and take us to share with us the most exciting part of this session, which is what the plans for art and feminism are for the year 2025. I really look forward to this. Thank you, Sandra. Over to you.
Thank you, Julie. And also on behalf of Wikimedia Uganda, I would like to thank Mr. Sam Ibanda, who is the president of Uganda Parliamentary Press Association. Also thanking Sandra from Uganda Women's WOPA, Uganda Women's Parliamentary Association, and also thanking the previous speakers. There was Juliet, also from Activism, and all of you for being part of this training. So I will just share my screen so that I can give a brief overview of what we intend to have this year. So could you please confirm, Julie, that you can see my screen?
We can see clearly and also hear clearly.
Yeah, so now we are coming to the technical bit. We got very good insights from the rest of the team. So in this page is actually something called meta. And I think Brian is going to break it down into smaller consumable pieces. And I don't want to waste a lot of time on this. So this is a meta page. It's more of like somehow you can see a website and it has all the information about the project. So Art and Feminism in 2025, first of all, is aimed at bridging the gender gap through feminist advocacy and open knowledge. So we brought this idea, first of all, thanking Wikimedia Foundation, but also thanking Whose Knowledge, especially under the VisibleWikiWomen, for supporting this initiative, and also for ensuring that we are meeting today. So it's really a global campaign that started in 2022, but in 2025, as Uganda, we aligned our theme under the VisibleWikiWomen theme. 2025, which talks about our bodies, our rights, and our knowledge. So we are focusing on visibility for women and gender diverse groups whose bodies, whose rights and knowledge have been marginalized or erased from the online spaces, which Wikipedia or Wikimedia is part of it. So this year we are focusing on ensuring there's increased representation of women, especially looking at women in politics and women in creatives. And we want to ensure that we address the gap by using our lens, our photography, to document portraits of women, and also ensuring that these photos are maybe added on their Wikipedia pages and also their Wikidata platforms. And what is very important is that with this training, we want to emphasize what does copyright look like, and also emphasize that we recognize copyright as a feminist and a social justice issue. And you know that. Hello, Brian.
Sorry, Sandra. Please go
Yeah.
on.
So we also want to empower creators. We want to empower artists. We want to also empower photographers to share their work through protecting how they can protect their rights in an ethical manner. And that's why we have these objectives, which looks at education of feminist artists, creatives on copyright laws, also documenting and preserving feminist art and political imagery on commons, but also ensuring that we increase the visibility of Ugandan women in politics as they go towards election, so that we can have more women presentation on politics. Because when images are attached to a Wikipedia page, more people can get to attach meaning to it and build the capacity of photographers. So there's a couple of activities. We'll have a workshop which is on copyright and Creative Commons. As you know, there's a lot of conversations going around copyright. And today, which will be the major focus, is that our target is to train 3 female and 2 male photographers. Of course, we have more here on Creative Commons license, ethical documentation, metadata standards, and copyright. So after this training, we'll be able to facilitate the photographers who will be able to capture 50 images of women in politics and feminist creatives and artists, and then upload them on Wikimedia Commons under appropriate license, because we noticed that sometimes people can decide to get photos on the internet and upload them. But this time we have to ensure that we respect copyright, we respect ethical documentation, and also ensure that the photos that you are actually uploading is uploaded under a CC or Creative Commons license that is right and also appropriate. And then we'll upload these photos under 2 categories, and Brian will again discuss what is category, which is Arts and Feminism 2025 in Uganda, VisibleWikiWomen 2025 in Uganda. And in this photography training, we have targeted 2 categories of photographers. Photographers that do, because you can do photography, but you focus on a specific photography. And that's why we were focused on also doing partnership with WOPA, Uganda Women's Parliamentary Association, and Uganda Parliamentary Press Association, to ensure that we get the the photographers who are doing photography at the parliament to be able to get images of women or portraits of women in politics, and also photographers who are doing entertainment, creative or artist work. And another activity that we'll do is maybe someone who has the mic on could mute, someone with a host course could mute the person. So another one we'll do, we'll do a feminist artistic collaboration where we'll, after documenting these images, have 5 feminist artists who can collaborate with the photographers, and then they'll also be trained on Wikidata and its role in structured data. And then we'll create images that may not have Wikidata items and also articles, and add these images on the pages. And then the goal is for the feminist artists to collaborate with the photographers who co-create metadata narratives for documented content, and ensuring that feminist knowledge is actually visible, is contextual, is preserved, and also respected in regards to copyright. And we'll do a number of Wikipedia for visibility, creating awareness of some of the photos that we have created. So I think with that, that is an overview of what we'll be able to do. And in case you want to get involved in some of these activities, please reach out and we'll be ensuring that we can have you involved. So at this point, I will hand over the mic to Julie for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. I think we are not going to take any questions for this session.